by Mike, the Big Cheese.
All right, welcome back to the Heavy Metal Mayhem Radio Show. It is Sunday, January 19th, 2025. It's hard to believe that there's only 1 week left in the month of January. That's how quickly this month flew by. Life is going by that quick. I say this all the time because as I get older, the days, the weeks, the months, the years just keep moving along quicker and quicker. But right there, Venom with Countess Bathory. I love that song because my son went to Countess Moore Catholic High School out here. I wonder if those two are related in any way. But what a killer track by Venom. You know, Mantis is no longer with Venom Inc. Even when we had him on, I think about a year or so ago, we talked about it. He wasn't even happy about using the name or playing under it back then. They did it for some promoter who wanted to put on a show using that name, and the rest is history. But, you know, Mantis was out of the band first. I mean, Mantis was out of the band. Abaddon was out of the band first. Mantis this year. Only Tony Dolan remains, who wasn't even an original member of Venom. I think he should just change the name of the band back to Empire of Evil because that's what they started out as. And they wrote some great music. And all that music they wrote as Venom Inc. just would have been Empire of Evil music. They have it's nothing more than a cover band these days. And I love Tony Dolan. He's such a great guy. He really is a sweetheart of a man. But just change the name back to Empire of Evil and go out there and play under that. No reason to keep this Venom Inc. going. There's really no connection to you and that band anymore. You were a replacement for Kronos, in the 90s. So just let it go. I mean, I would love to see that original lineup get back together. They did it once before. It didn't last very long, and I doubt if they got back together now, it still wouldn't last that long. I mean, when I saw Venom, they played the Ritz in Manhattan, which was Studio 54. I'm sorry, they played at the old Studio 54, man. I also saw them at the Ritz when they played there. The place was packed. That was a pretty decent sized place. I get it. It was the height of their fame, the height of heavy metal. So, but if they went out there and played today with that original lineup, I guarantee you they'll sell out decent size, theaters. 2,000 seats and up, I think they could do easily. Whether they can make it happen, I don't know. The three of them just do not like each other. There's a lot of animosity, hatred between them, and I don't think they could even get along well enough just to get out on the road and pretend to be, like they're having fun up on stage and do it. Bands like Aerosmith, the Rolling Stones, a lot of those members hate each other. They don't care but they go out there and they do it. They travel separately, they play. I know Venom's not at the level of Aerosmith or, the Rolling Stones, but, make it happen. I mean, I was waiting for that Merciful Fate reunion to happen. Then one member died, one member got too sick to play. The other one they just cut out and isolated and just went out with King and Hank. And to me, that wasn't Merciful Fate. They could have did it with that original lineup if they didn't drag their feet. For some reason, King Diamond likes to drag his feet and everything. It's taken years and years and years and years for a new solo record to come out. The Merciful Fate record was supposed to come out. That's been put on hold too. Maybe this year or next year we'll get something. But Venom, before it gets too late, just play nice with each other long enough to go out and do a tour. I mean, I guarantee if you announced it, the next year you would headline every festival out there. Every festival, one Venom is a headlining act. You make pretty good money doing that for that one festival. And you can go out and tour, a bunch of different countries and play decent places. So try to make it happen. Try to put the shit behind you, move on, and let's get Venom back out there on the road. All right, we got a great show tonight. Jeff Prentice from Predator is our guest. We'll be talking to Jeff in about 40 minutes or so. We'll play some new music between now and then. I wanted to get our new Gravedigger tonight. I just forgot to bring it with me to the studio. But we got new Tokyo Blade. Iman last week wanted to hear something off the new Medieval Steel record from back last month in December. We'll get that on. And we'll get on some new Dirk Schneider for you. So let's keep this little heaviness going over here. How about we do some Savage Thrust? A local Staten Island band. I know Iman keeps saying, please let somebody re-release a lot of this stuff. It just hasn't happened. I don't know if it will or not. I'm looking forward to it. I got to try to get them back on the show. I know they've been completely inactive since the last time I've had them on here. But it'll be fun just to talk about what's going on, try to nudge them into doing something. But here's Agony and Ecstasy. Okay, Rabbit led to the gallows, and before that, my brother from another mother, Steve Gaines, singing and playing bass in Tactics. That's for Something Wicked. You know, Steve from Anger Resort these days, and from Abattoir back in the 80s. And before that, Savage Thrust, some Staten Island local legends with Agony and Ecstasy. That's the song my wife plays every night when I walk into the bedroom. I'm assuming that I'm the agony part of it. That's my best guess, but that's the way life goes, right? All right, let me see what time it is. We got about 20 more minutes before we get Jeff on the line. So we'll play a few. I really wanted to get the new Gravedigger on tonight. I just forgot to bring it into the studio. So we'll do a triple shot of new music. We got Tokyo Blade, Medieval Steel, and Dirk Schneider, who reworked the entire Balls to the Walls record. And, I'm not really a fan of what I'm hearing so far, but I'm going to play for you guys, and you let me know what you think of it. First up, Tokyo Blade. I got a brand new record called This Is the Fire. It's hard to believe that Tokyo Blade has almost all five of their original members. Three of them were there from the founding of the band, and the other two came in a year later. So everybody in that band has been with the band since at least 1983. That's pretty impressive, I have to say. They were Genghis Khan before that, and a lot of those guys were with them when they were Genghis Khan also. So, I mean, a lot going on there. So, I haven't played the record yet. I'm just going to randomly pick out a song. I just got it yesterday. I figured I played here for the first time today. So let me see what I can dig up over here. What's the first song I could throw in for everybody? I should have did this before I started the show, right? It would have made things a lot easier. Now I got to look for it and add it to the playlist. But let me see what we got here. How about we do the first song on the record, I guess. That's the only one that's coming out at me right now. Oh, yeah, we'll do that. It's called Feet in the Rap, brand new Tokyo Blade.
Hotter than hell, like thunder and lightning. Screaming was frightening. The bullet keep us alive.
Balls to the wall.
We're gonna fight for the right.
Balls to the wall.
Build a wall with the bodies over there.
Balls to the wall.
And you're saved.
Balls to the wall.
Make the world scared.
Balls to the wall.
Come on, show me the sign of victory. Sign of victory. Sign of victory. You better watch me now.
God bless ya.
We're gonna break the chains. No, you can't stop them.
God bless ya.
They're coming to get you, and then you got your balls to the wall. Then balls to the wall. You got your balls to the wall. Then balls to the wall. You got your balls to the wall. Then balls to the wall. You got your balls to the wall. Then balls to the wall. You got your balls to the wall.
Okay, I don't even know where to begin with that set of music. You had Tokyo Blade with Feeding the Right off their newest record, This Is the Fire. Sounded very modern, very much like a later day Motley Crue towards the Saints of LA era, in my opinion. Medieval Steel with Blood Moon, just not a very good record at all. Lost Realm even did a worse job of promoting that. That record came out in December. Nobody even knows it's out. The label did little to no promotion. I mean, I guess I know why not. I figured why throw the money down on a sinking ship, but nothing was even wrote about that anywhere, which is quite amazing in my opinion. And right there, Dirk Schneider, he redid the entire Balls to the Walls record. I don't know why. There was no reason for it. It didn't have to be done. That features Joachim from Sabaton on vocals with him. Every song has somebody doing a duet with him. There was absolutely no reason for that. The music sounded pretty decent, very modern also, like an Andy Sneap production. The vocals were just terrible. I mean, I was never a fan of Sabaton, mostly because of the singing, so I really couldn't get into this. Udo's a lot older now. He's got to be, closing in on 70, if not there already. His voice is a little weaker, but on records you can make a lot of things happen in the studio. I saw Udo live when he came here with his Dirk Schneider band for the first time. They played the Gramercy Manhattan. I gotta tell you, he just sounded amazing live. The band was really good too, and I felt like I was watching like Accept back in the early days when they first came to America, like 83, 84, and I saw them. He just sounded great. Whether it was him, doing it all on his own, or he had backing tracks or some kind of help, I don't really know. He just sounded too good. I mean, like on record. And so I don't know, but there was no reason to redo the Balls to the Wall record, in my opinion, none at all. Unbelievable. I guess the big news this week we should have talked about earlier was Zetro is out of Exodus. I didn't see that coming. I don't think anybody saw that coming. Just a week or so ago, they were talking about being in the studio, recording the new record. I think they just wrapped up a tour like 2 or 3 weeks ago also. So I guess all this shit must have went down on tour. So they got Rob Dukes back in the band again. And, I was never really a fan of that. Rob's a nice guy. I've had him on the show a few times. And a great guy to talk to and everything. But I was never a fan of the Rob Dukes era of Exodus. To me, it was Paul Bailoff and Paul Bailoff only. I mean, Zetra, I think, did a good job, taking over for Paul. Much more reliable. Some people liked him, some people didn't. I've also had Steve on the show many times, and he's another great guy to talk to. I would have preferred to have seen Exodus wrap up their time with him in the band than Rob Dukes. But this is probably the third time he's been in and out of the band since he's joined the band back in the '80s. So who knows what went on? I'm sure in a little bit of time it'll come out and people hear what happened. It was probably just egos clashing again. That's all I could think about it. And like I says, Rob is back in the now. They must have been talking to Rob behind the scenes for the last month or two, because they wouldn't make that announcement how being out without knowing they're going to get Rob back in. And if I was Rob, I mean, listen, since he got kicked out of Exodus, which was kind of fucked up the way they did that too, to him, no different than what went down with Steve, I guess now for the third time. I wouldn't have gone back. But Rob has really done nothing since then that's been relevant or that people really have latched onto that got him out there playing. And so going back to Exodus, he's gonna be playing probably big places again, festivals. So I get him going back and doing it. But if I had got kicked out of that band the way he did, I would have like just said, "Fuck you." Let them go find the fourth singer, and deal with it like that. But this is life. This is the music business. That's how things go. All right, let's get on some classic Predator, and then I'm gonna dial Jeff up and get this interview going. So here's Shrieks of Terror. Let's get Jeff on the line. Here we go.
Hello.
Jeff, this is Mike calling for our interview. You're live on the air. How are you?
Good. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Man, I gotta tell you, it's a pleasure to have you on here because I go back with you guys from that first demo tape back in 1985. And when I heard years ago that you were gonna put this back together, I got really happy. And now with a new record, I'm thrilled.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks for being a fan for so long, man.
I waited a long time for you to come back around. I'm glad you decided, and I guess we'll kind of get to how you did that later on. But going back to the early days of Predator, I mean, the band came around I think '84, I want to say, and we got that demo tape, that four-song demo tape in '85, and then the Easy Prey record a year later. I mean, how did it all happen for you back then? How did it all come about?
Well, it was kind of an interesting thing. I was recording a demo with a different band, and the guy we were recording it with was Chuck Rosa, the guy who ended up producing the record. And he said he just made me an offer. He said, "Yeah, you guys are pretty good. We could do a record for like I forget what the exact sum of money was, but it was fairly reasonable." I said, "Sure, okay." And so, but basically, I put together different people to do it, and we recorded it. Not like on the weekends at night when the studio had downtime. That's how we did it cheaply, and then shopped it afterwards. And we were originally supposed to be on something called Azra Records, who
Yeah,
wanted to pick it up, and they kind of dropped the ball and didn't release it for a while. And it was in the contract that they had to release it within a certain amount of months, and it had come and gone. And so I sent the project to Brian, at Metal Blade, and it was already all ready to go. Just dropped it in his lap, basically. And he said, "Sure, let's do it." So that's how it happened.
yeah. I mean, Metal Blade also was kind of a new label at the time. They were only around for a few years before then, and they were just building up steam also. But today, like extremely
That's
well known.
yeah.
But people realize back then that it was always that Predator felt like it was a one man band. It was just you. They never felt like there were three or four other guys that were like well known or a part of it. It kind of was always just you.
Yeah, it was pretty much. I mean, on the record, it's just me and a drummer.
Yeah, because you're already close, also, aren't you?
What's that?
You're also Eddie, also on the record, the bass player.
Oh no, no. Eddie was the guy that played with us in the live band.
Okay, because
After we
everybody
started.
said that was you under a different name. That was like the story that went around for decades.
No, no, no. That was an actual guy.
Okay, we can put that to bed now. That's great to know. But as far as like a band of like like I said, three, four guys that were all working together, was it? Did you feel it was always better that it was just you, that where you had control over the music, the sound, how everything should be for the band?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, it it kind of limits you in a way, but I mean, I've always worked better with maybe one or two guys. I don't. I generally all the bands I've done have been like maybe me and one other person writing, and then we put together the other pieces if we're going to play live, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It makes it it's more streamlined. It's easier. It's a more focused more focused effort rather than trying to be a democracy where there's all kinds of things coming into play. I mean, some people like it that way. I've never found it to work that well that way. So
I think if you really ask most musicians, most bands, they'll all say they would like it that way because four or five guys always fighting where everybody wants a say in the band. It kind of leads
right,
to the downfall of a lot of bands where Ringo and McCartney. I mean, Simmons and Paul Stanley. I mean, some of the best songwriting teams were just two people that kind of they were able to work with each other, make things happen. So, did you have that one
right,
songwriting
exactly.
partner like throughout your career that you felt was like your Paul McCartney?
I mean, I worked with a guy named Rob Nishida for a while with a band called Outland that we did. We released 3 records, and that was more his writing, and I would plug in the guitar playing and the singing. But that worked well together. And then for the new record, I wrote it with Frank from Ninth Circle, and that's worked out pretty well too. So I don't know if there's one particular person that I think is better or anything, but I've had a couple of people that I worked really well with, so it's been cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and Frank's a great musician, and Ninth Circle a good band. You've actually worked with them, behind the scenes also. Besides having Frank being a part of the new Predator.
Yeah, I've been doing the production of their records, like the last three of them. Yeah, so
Yeah, they're a solid band. But Jeff, going back to like 1980, 1986, Easy Prey comes out. You start making a name for yourself. People are catching on to the band. I mean, it seems like it only went on for another 2 or 3 years at the most after that that I can remember. And no new record came out, no second album was released, and then everybody just kind of disappeared. We didn't have the internet back then. There were no real magazines to read, so
right.
nobody ever really knew what happened. So after Easy Prey came out, did it kind of do what you wanted it to do, especially being a Metal Blade, which was like an up and coming label at the time?
Yeah, I mean, I think it sold fairly well. We made some money. It was hard keeping a stable lineup together because we didn't have we only went on a couple of small tours, and there wasn't the LA scene was pay to play, and we just refused to do that. So it just kind of fizzled out. I mean, we did record like three songs for an EP that never came out. So there's still three songs in the can, possibly, if I could get the if I could get the okay of the guys who played on it to release it. That's a possibility. But yeah, it just kind of fizzled after that. And then yeah, I just started playing in bands where I was making money. I in the '90s I played in some of those like disco type bands and stuff. Just
Yeah.
so I wanted to make a living from music, and I didn't want to do anything else. So I got into the production side of it. I started playing in wedding bands and stuff like that. So and it served me until now.
Yeah. Didn't you also play with the Seeds, that '60s band?
I played with them for about 3 4 years. Yeah, when I
Wow.
toured with them, they were yeah, that was a lot of fun. I mean, we played in Europe, we played all over the country. Small tours. A couple of weeks here, a couple of weeks there. It was a lot of fun.
I'm sure. Going back to the '80s, I mean, like you were talking about, just it was hard to find a stable lineup for the band. A couple of guys you could really, play with, get along with, and make music with. Was it because of the change in the scene going on at that time? You talk about '86, '87. The glam metal, the hair metal. LA was a change in place musically at that time. And was it hard to find people that went to the music that you were writing, yeah, as Predator, or was it just musicians in general? Nothing was really just panning out at the time.
It was more like there was just and I could find guys that wanted to do it, but nobody had, I mean, everybody like needed a place to live, or it was like, it was just hard to find guys that were stable guys. We had, it was like, hey, I'd get like a drummer or whatever, and he'd want to camp out in the rehearsal studio, or stuff like that, and it just wasn't sustainable. I'm a business guy first, kind of, and it just, nothing sustainable really happened. So I decided to find different ways to do it.
Yeah. Do you think that's one of the big issues? I mean, obviously, money is always an issue, especially being in a band. I mean, until you could actually break through and make it, if you're lucky enough to be one of those bands, money is always going to be an issue. We have so many bands that don't care about it, don't think about it. And really, they've been playing for 30, 40 years, in the same scene, and they have jobs, they do whatever they have to do, and this has kind of become secondary to them. But if you really wanted to make it, if you wanted to get to the level that Metallica was getting at in '86 or '87, they really just exploded, you had to be considerate of the business part of it and the money part of it, didn't you?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, there's
Well,
this,
what?
and there's no way, just, there's no way you can just push forward, with in life with no money in it. I mean,
No.
obviously. So, I mean, and that's why a lot of guys quit. They decide, well, I mean, around that time too, I got married, and I didn't want to be, not bringing in money, and so I
Of
did what
course.
did what I still wanted to play music, so I did what I needed to do. Played in a lot of, a lot of different situations that were paying. So
It's crazy when you think about it. You say, like, I can make money as a musician doing stuff that maybe I'm not crazy about, or really don't want to do, but the stuff I really want to do, which is really popular at the time, I just can't make money at, so I got to go do it somewhere else. It's a crazy business when you think about it.
yeah, it is. I mean, but it's I mean, it's if you put aside well, I don't like this music or I don't like that music, and you just treat it like, well, I'm lucky to be able to play music and make money at it. If you have that attitude, it's fine.
Sure.
That's
I mean,
I mean,
you take the wrecking crew, all the session musicians made tons of money just playing everything they could think of in the studio for other people.
exactly right. Look
Yeah.
at Toto or something. I mean, guys,
Yeah.
I mean, I did a little bit of that. I mean, I never got to that level, but I've played on a lot of different things, and I make I do stuff for TV, like in foreign countries, and I record cover tunes or whatever they need. It's a it's just kind of get yourself out there and do it, and you can make a living with it.
Sure. I mean, Steve Lukather, with all the hits he had with Toto, he probably made more money coming up with the beat for Riff It, for the Riff for Beat It, for Michael Jackson than anything else.
Right? Yeah. I mean, that guy's amazing guy. I mean,
Yeah.
all hats off to that guy.
Absolutely incredible. I mean, Jeff, now all these years go by and you keep him busy with music. It isn't like you just gave up on it and put it aside. When did you sit down and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go back to Predator after all these years? I know around 2020, I want to say, is when I first started hearing that it was going to happen. Then the Thought Police came out, and then it was kind of quiet for a couple of years. So when did you decide that, it was time to reactivate Predator and make it happen again?
Actually, I owe a lot of that to Frank because he kind of talked me into it. So it was actually, I mean, the thing that the catalyst was like during COVID. I that's when we're both kind of the same ideology or whatnot. We both started getting really pissed off that we were being locked down here in California, and we were watching our politicians go out and party, and we were and that was the catalyst for a lot of the songwriting for that record. It just okay, we're getting angry here. Let's make a metal record.
Yep. And that was the Thought Police. But was it meant to be just like a one-off song, or did you think at that time that it was going to be a lot more? That you were going to put out a record, you were going to write more music?
Well, the Thought Police actually was before I got together with Frank to do this. The Thought Police was just something solo I did, and I just decided to put it out there and see if anybody liked it. That was it sort of led into what we're doing now, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and you listen to Unsafe Space, which is going to come out in March. You got about another 2 months for it's officially released out there. I mean,
Yeah.
it kind of seems like you picked up where you left off with Easy Prayer. When I hear the record, I'm like, this is I think what a band would have been if they were releasing album after album over these decades. I think this is what the band would have sounded like 30, 40 years later.
Probably.
Yeah,
It's
was
a
it a
close.
conscious
It's a
effort
close.
to kind of recapture that sound?
Um, Not consciously, but I mean it's just the way I play. I mean the way I guess the way I hear music hasn't changed all that much.
Yeah.
But hopefully the production's gotten a lot better, and maybe the songwriting's gotten better. I hope. I think back in the day I was a guitar player first and foremost, and the lyrics were just filling the space between the guitar solos kind of thing. Whereas now I kind of treat it opposite.
Yeah, there's some pretty intense songs on here lyrically. I mean, you really touch on a lot of different, a lot of different stuff. So, I mean, there is a big difference lyrically between this and the first album, no doubt about that.
Right. Yeah. The first album was just stuff that sounded metal to me at the time. Basically, nothing. Just things kind of saying like what everybody else was doing. Just it didn't. The lyrics back then were they were kind of an afterthought, and now it's the primary thing, and then the guitar is what fills in between it. So that's probably the
Sure.
right way to do it.
Yeah. Is songwriting an easy thing for you? Is it something that comes naturally to you? I mean, as far as the music goes, lyrics are, writing lyrics and writing music are two different things, and putting them together to create one whole song is not that easy sometimes.
Right. Yeah. For sure. Music is much easier for me than lyrics, for sure. I have to be like this time around. It was fairly easy because I was pissed off about a lot of things, so that flowed out, and, quite easily. And Frank helped me a lot with the lyrics too. Frank would come up with ideas, and and I would sort of mold them into song ideas I had. And So I mean, he deserves a lot of credit for a lot of the lyrics too.
Yeah. Well, with you and Frank being, I guess, the core now of the new Predator, I mean, are you going to look to round out the lineup and perform live also? Because I guarantee you there's a lot of festivals all over the world that will look to book your band right away.
If the if the offers come in, sure, we'll do it. It's it has to make sense, but yeah, I mean
Yeah,
that's we can sell more records that way, right? So
sure,
that's the thing we want
absolutely.
to do.
Well,
Yeah,
making sense today means we'll fly you into Germany for the weekend. We'll put you up in a hotel. We'll give you a stipend for food and send you back home 2 days later. That's all that makes sense today for most of these festivals. Unless you're on a bigger one like Vakken and one of those where you actually get paid to go play. Most of them just fly you in for a weekend of fun.
yeah. I mean, I guess if if we're not losing money, yeah, sure. If we're losing money, probably not.
Yeah. I always love it how far we've come away. Well, as long as we're not losing money, we're okay. Once we lose money, I don't want to do it no more because that's really what it comes down to.
Right.
You know you're not going to make $1 million writing music anymore. At least not our music and heavy metal. But you just want to break even, I
Right.
guess, just so you can go out there and say, "Hey, I had a good time. I went to Germany for the weekend. I went to Greece for the weekend, and we played a festival in front of a lot of people."
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of what you would expect. Yeah,
Yeah, I
as
mean,
long as it's
Jeff, it was about 20 something years ago when metal started to make a comeback again. People, it kind of died out in the 90s. Grunge took over for a little while. Then different versions of metal came about, that new metal and different styles of metal, that extreme metal. And it just kept turning and turning. But about 20 something years ago, young people, kids, like that would be our kids' age, started catching on to this music from the 80s. And they took it and they made it, they turned it into this whole big thing again. And then all the old folks came back
right.
around saying, oh, yeah, I want to get into it again. So, I mean, was there any thought before this about trying to redo Predator or put it back together again? Or do you just think people forgot about the band after Easy Prey?
Um, I mean, I thought I'd had a few offers to re-release Easy Prey and stuff, and that kind of got me thinking in that direction. But I was for up until recently, I've been raising kids and been kind of busy, and just so it just became feasible now, in the last few years to really do it for me. But it's
Sure.
always been there. It's always been in the back of my mind, going, yeah, I might rethink this someday, and
Well,
so this was
I'm
the
glad.
time to
I'm
do it.
glad that you did. I'm happy that you did. You gave us like 12 amazing songs on this new record. We're gonna play some after we're done talking for people to hear.
That's cool.
But like I always say to myself, you guys signed the Metal Blade back then. Did Metal Blade do everything you thought they were gonna do for you, or did you just feel like they put the record on and just kind of let you fend for yourself? Because a label is supposed to offer a lot of things. They were a small underground label, but you still expect, like if you can, tour support, promotion. Did the label do all they could, you felt, for Predator? That they just were really just a mechanism to release the album and distribute it?
Probably somewhere in between those two, and they gave us a
Yeah,
little bit of help, but I don't think they had enough money to give anybody a lot of help at that point.
yeah.
I wouldn't say. I mean, they put us on a tour with Flotsam and Jetsam and a band called Bloodlust, and we did a few dates, and that was they did that, and they we managed to get paid, and other than that they did a little promotional stuff. I think they got us on Roadrunner in Europe, and I think maybe Sony in Japan. Not sure. I think it was Sony in Japan. I think they just like inked that deal, so it might have been on there. I'm not positive about that. So they did something. They did something, but not as much as the major labels were doing, obviously.
Of course. Well, they had more money invested in you, and back then, you were a product of that label, and they had an A&R team that was in place. It was like being in the minor leagues and working your way up to the majors. You had people that coached you along to get you there, and you were a product to them, and they wanted to sell that product as much as they could. So whatever they needed to do, if they felt you were a good investment, they were going to put it behind you. Where the smaller labels, like it says, they didn't have the money to do that. And you hear a lot of people talk about Metal Blade where they didn't get the support they needed, and I always say, it was one guy back then, just trying to put music out that he
Yeah.
loved, and that's really all it was back then for him. And now it's a whole different
Well,
thing. It's all these years later, but how much could you possibly
yeah,
expect from a small label at the time?
yeah. Well, we didn't expect much. I mean, we like it was easy for them too because we just dropped in their lap and it was already done. They didn't have to invest anything at all in us. So
True.
it was probably a decent profitable deal for the label and for us, I think.
Yeah. We didn't really have the promotional mechanisms like we do now. I mean, the internet, social media, that seems like all bands need today. They kind of do everything on their own. They go on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. If TikTok's still here, I don't even know. I think they would get rid of it this week, and I never use it myself. But you have Twitter or X now, and bands could do everything on their
Right.
own. Recording equipment that you could buy for a few dollars, put it in your bedroom, and record a whole record there if you want to. Where back then, you couldn't do stuff like that. You had to put flyers on telephone poles. You had to get the name out through word of mouth. Pen pals and stuff like
Right.
that. But it seemed like in a way it was kind of easier back then. I don't know if it was because the scene was new and there weren't as many bands out. So when people heard about somebody or a band, they kind of latch onto it if it's what they wanted. Where today there's 45 million bands putting up music every 5 minutes, and it's kind of hard to get through it all to find that one really good band.
And plus, it's. I mean, music is segmented nowadays too. There's not
Yeah,
really. It's not. There's no one thing that's really big except for maybe the pop music, the Taylor Swift, Bruno Mars, that kind of thing. But other than that, everything's really segmented. So you have to like target your audience, whatever that may be. And that's good too, though. It's good in a way because a lot more bands can actually get a chance to get out there and do their thing. Whereas back in the day, it was whatever was hot. If you weren't that, it was you were relegated to a certain level.
true, true.
And now it's all on you. If you can find a way to get your stuff out there, it'll get out there.
Yeah, it's broken down to so many different genres today. I can't even keep track of it. Back when I got into music,
Yeah,
and in the early 70s, everything was just rock and roll. It was just all rock. There was no such thing. I mean, you were Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, or Steppenwolf. You were just a rock band. Kiss, you were a rock band. That's all it was. Then it
right.
started turning into so many different things. And if you were one, this guy didn't want to have nothing to do with you because he wasn't into speed metal. He was into thrash metal. I'm like, was there really that much of a
Right.
difference?
Yeah.
And it got to that point
Yeah.
where people just didn't want to be involved with other bands if they were a different genre.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we came in probably when that was starting. I mean, we were just still
Yeah,
sort of a rock/metal band. I mean, it wasn't really. We didn't consider ourselves any particular type of metal band. Just a metal band, or hard rock,
yeah.
whatever.
That's all it was back then. But you got lumped into categories too over the years. People said, Predator were a thrash band, they were a speed band. I just thought you were a great heavy metal band. Always have, always will. And with this new record coming out now, I mean, where do you think you're gonna go from here? I mean, are you gonna try to get out there and maybe do some local shows, or is playing live not really an option for you right now? You just maybe want to fill things out with the record?
I mean, it's going to be dependent on whether there's a market for it or not. I mean, if there's demand, yeah, we'll play for sure. But we're not going to start at square one and go play at the Troubadour on a Thursday or something. That's not in the cards. But
Yeah.
if there's a demand for what we're doing, we'll definitely go out and do it for sure.
Well, because Predator already has an established name, and a lot of the fans, especially the ones my age, or in the 50s and 60s that came around with the band in the early days, know who you are, know everything about the band that they need to know that was put out there. I mean, you already have that like one leg up where you already are an established act. But in a way, is it like starting over again because so many decades have gone between the first record and this one?
Oh, for sure, yeah, yeah. It's. I mean, we do have, we do have, some fans out there for sure, but I mean, could we fill a venue like in Los Angeles or something? I mean, it's. I think our fan base is probably sprinkled all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you know, 10 people in this city, 50 people in this city. That's not the kind of thing where we could go just put our
Yeah.
name out there, and draw thousands of people or something in
Yeah,
one
it's
place.
Yeah, it's not that easy anymore. But you know what it is with the internet and all the sites that have been around for the last 10, 15, or 20 years or so, more people know who Predator are than you really think because they were able to latch onto all this music from YouTube and all these different sites. So you do have a larger fan base out there than you probably imagine. But like I said, they are kind of spread out because it's worldwide now. It isn't just local anymore. It's not California. It's not the West Coast. It's not maybe where, hey, I can go to New York because a lot of people know us in New York. It's worldwide now. So it is kind of spread out. But there are a lot more people than you think
But
actually know who Predator are these days.
Well, that would be cool.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I said. If a festival called you, and when the sound comes out, I guarantee you're gonna start getting calls from the festivals, and that's where you go and you play in front of like 2,000 diehard rabid fans who like live and breathe this music. You sit there. I've had friends and bands I've gone there said, I can't believe like I didn't think anybody remembered who we were, and they're waiting for autographs to be signed. There's T-shirts. It's unbelievable like what goes on, especially like in Germany and in Greece and in South America. You would think it was like 1984 all over again. They just live and breathe it. They're walking around in their denim jackets with the patches on. I look at that. I feel like I'm in a time machine sometimes.
Yeah, I've seen some footage from the South America seems like a viable market for metal right now for sure.
Oh, it's crazy down there. It's unbelievable how they go for everything, and especially the stuff from the '80s. They live for it. So, I think if you guys start making some moves out there, it would happen for you guys. You might have to leave the country to do it because it's hard here in the U.S. for anybody. I mean, it's just not the same. I mean, you're out in California. I
Right.
mean, it's terrible what's going on with the fires right now. But the club scene over there, it's like you said, it's not what it used to be when you started out.
No, no, not at all. It's hard for anybody to make money playing music live out here unless you're doing like the stuff that I do, like the corporate parties and the weddings and stuff like that. You can make money doing that, but there's no place for a metal band to do that.
Yeah. So, so Jeff, now that this record, I mean, March 18th, I believe, is the official release date on Fighter Records. It's going to be out before we know it. You just released a new single. Raping the Population came out, so people are getting a little sample now of like what's to come with this record and everything. But even if you don't
Yeah.
decide to go out and do the live shows, do you think you're going to keep putting out new music?
Well, we definitely have another EP pretty much ready to go. That's part of the contract that we signed. And this record actually had about 20 songs, and it's too many. So we have some leftovers that we're going to release probably in about a year, from what I understand.
Oh, that's great.
So there's definitely
Any,
at least one more thing coming out.
That's good to know.
And we're going
Anything on this record left over from the early days? Any riffs or ideas that you were never able to get around? I know you said you have a couple of songs from back then that you got to get some permissions for maybe to put out there, but were any of these ideas yours from like, 1984, 85, where you just couldn't get to them or just couldn't make it happen?
yeah, there's one song on the new record called Saboteur, and that one was originally put together by me and a friend of mine who was in the band with me back in the day, who sadly passed away. But we had written that song, and we were starting to play it out live a little bit, and then the band kind of fizzled, and so that's kind of gotten a new fresh lyrics on it and stuff, and so that's the only one that's on the new record that dates back to the old days.
Musically, is it close to what you came up with back then, or did you feel like you kind of had to update it to like, what you're doing now?
Musically, it's very close. Yeah, it's almost exactly the same. But
And like I
lyrically,
was,
it's different.
Yeah, lyrically, but I'm saying most people would not know that between that new because it all sounds like it's where it's supposed to be. That's a hard thing to do. Like 30 something years later, put out a record, and still people say, "Hey, that's Predator," because it does have that vibe to it. It helps that you're the guitar player and also the vocalist because it keeps that consistency like throughout the two records.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I haven't really changed that much, and I don't scream anymore. I can't do that anymore, unfortunately. But other than that, yeah, I haven't changed that much. So
Yeah.
it's similar, but but now that I record everything and I know how to mix stuff myself, and I have a better sound. Like I think the first record suffered from kind of a thin sound quality, I guess. At
Yeah.
least looking back on it.
Well, those were the times also. I mean, like I said, a lot of bands didn't have the money back then to invest into that recording studio like they do now. I mean, what are the biggest lessons you learned from recording back then to recording now? I mean, obviously, you also do more behind the scenes work, in the engineering part, where maybe you didn't do that so much back then. So, which way do you prefer? Back then, everything was done on reel-to-reel tapes. Today, everything's digital. Is there a difference for you in the sound?
I mean, a little bit. I mean, I think the digital stuff sounds a little bit colder, but there's things you can do to it to make it sound better. And I think the way of recording now is so much better than it was back then. I mean, I love it. I mean, I work with my digital audio workstation stuff like almost daily on some kind of project. So no, I really enjoy the new technology for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you remember back in the 80s, bands like Def Leppard would get these big, humongous advances, especially for like the stereo record, and they were in the studio for like 2 years to get trying to record that record. I get it, Rick Allen had the accident that slowed things down, but you're getting millions of dollars to put out a record. You're in the studio for years working on it. Where today you could probably recreate that in about a week in a home studio.
Yeah, well, that record maybe not a week, but yeah, but I know what you mean. Yeah, for sure, you could you could do it in a month probably.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah,
much quicker now, and when you think about the money that's being saved, I mean, granted, the industry is not what it was back then. People do more digital downloading today. They go to Spotify, they stream music. They're not buying the physical product
right,
as much as they used to. I mean, at least not the newer kids, the younger generation. But I think like if we
right.
had this technology back then, the record companies would have really been king. They would have been banging out the big bucks like dollar after dollar.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the technology is amazing. I mean, and like most bands have somebody that can do it themselves now. So I mean, everybody that I work with, they can record stuff at home if they want to, and bring it into. I've worked with bands where each guy's recording their parts at home. They bring it to me, and I put it all together. That kind of stuff. Just it's crazy. It's very good, and it's also the flip side is it really saturates the market too. So
True. Very true. Do you think it's always better to have that outside ear when you're putting out music, somebody that can listen to it and maybe not? Because when you're writing the music and you're recording it and you're also engineering and producing and doing all that work, sometimes you can get too close to it and you may not hear things that someone outside can where they make a recommendation. And it does change the whole song around, maybe for the better, maybe for the worse, who knows. But is it always better to have that outside ear listening to the music and kind of helping you out with where they think it should go?
and maybe I think it depends. I mean, I've been, I've always tend to work with at least one other person. But I mean, as far as engineering and or sending it to a mastering engineer or whatever, I haven't done that. I tend to do it all myself. But I think I can accomplish the same thing by just setting it aside for a week or two and then going back and listening to it with fresh ears. I think I can probably accomplish a similar thing that way.
True. I
I
mean, on
guess.
the flip side, who would know you're right, but on the flip side, who would know your music better than you? What you want it to sound like? It's not like it's your first day recording. You've been doing it your whole life, so you
Right.
know what music should sound like, and nobody's gonna know better than you.
Right. That's
There
kind
you
of how
go.
I feel about it. But I'm always open to suggestions too. I'm not like I'm not the tyrant, that just has to be my way or the highway kind of guy either. So it's
Yeah.
a little bit of both.
I hear you. Hey, well, Jeff, I'm going to let you go because I want to play some music for wrap up tonight's show. It was a pleasure talking with you. I hope that you do get together with other guys, put out some live shows, and maybe come here to New York. We still got a little bit of a scene here, so it'd be great to see Predator
Uh,
live. If not, I'm going to have to get on a plane and fly to one of those festivals to go see you guys.
okay. Yeah. Hopefully we can come up to New York. It'd be great.
It would
It's
be
fun. Some of the
fantastic.
bigger, for
I
sure.
would love
It'd be
that.
a lot of fun.
But Jeff, you have a great rest of your weekend over there. Hopefully, the fight didn't affect you guys, and it's moving on almost out. But the best of luck with Predator. Like I said, been a big fan since the beginning. We're gonna play something off the new record for everybody.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate your time and your interest and your being a fan all these years. That's awesome.
Thank you, Jeff. My pleasure. You have a great night, my friend. Take care.
You too. Take care, man.
All right, bye bye.
Bye bye.
All right, let's get on some new music from Predator. This is a newest single, "Raping the Population."
No, you want it. It only hurts a little bit at first. No, you need it. Our love will save you from this ugly curse. Take the jabs and your soul surrender to our control. We will give you what you need to accept the sacred seed. Raping the population. Raping the population. Oh, everybody needs it. Time to forget all of your foolish pride. Check the venom, leaving you completely satisfied. Take the time to ask me, say submission is the only way. The only way to have protection is to take our love injection. Raping the population. population. Time to bend over for your booster shots like good little sheep. No resistance, or we will have to take you all by force. Full compliance, dominate your life with no remorse. Take the jab and again, be forgiven for your sins. Give your body to the cause, no matter what the pain or cost. Raping the population. Raping the population. Raping the population. Raping.
The Holy Cross, symbol of life, intimidate the last of Christian war. Speak of death, the words of hate, anticipation goes among the dead. Heresy, the priest of death, to bring forth the Lord of the cross. Strike the 12, erase the dead, the death comes under attack. The ghost of sin, torment the priest, their altar will soon be destroyed. Heaven's power, turning black, the judgment belongs to the dead. Black and magic, infest with lust, Lucifer will supreme. The crystal ball shows on the face, the last thing that's heard in the sky. on all society. Every slaughter in his lies was down history. From my gun, the bullets fly. No one shall forgive a sting and no one know why. The reasons for my sentence makes me with me when I die. When I finally end my life. To my hand. By the time they find me, I'll already be
All right, Hellhound. I really like those guys. I mean, I don't remember if I bought the Submit or Die demo in '85. They came out if I tape traded for it. My cassettes, my wall of cassettes are about 8 feet away from me, and my eyes are so bad that I can't even see if it's the original demo or if I trade for it. By '85, I was basically tape trading everything. I wasn't really buying much anymore, unless it was a local band I got in one of the local record stores. I wasn't ordering stuff in the mail anymore at that point in time, so I can't really see it tell. But I've been a fan of them since then. They started out in 1982 as Black Death. They changed the name because there was another Black Death. I didn't think they needed to do that because the other Black Death is actually black, so I think there wouldn't have been much confusion between the two. But they became Hellhound in '84, I believe, and they went on for about another 4 or 5 years. I think they put out two more demo tapes after that. I know compilations came out in the '90s and then the early 2000s, I believe, like an anthology. And I never bought them. I don't know why. Back then, I wasn't really paying attention to the stuff that was coming out. I wasn't really using the internet a lot for many things or figuring these things out. I just wasn't a computer person, so I didn't know. But I'm gonna go look and see if I can get them somewhere, especially if they're out on vinyl. I mean, I gotta thank my wife for Christmas. She took the list of all my guests that were on the show this year, and my wife is not a metalhead by any means, so she went and got all the guests that were on the show and went out and bought me all the vinyl records from all the guests that I had on the show this year, whichever ones had vinyl out that she can get a hold of. So I love her for doing that. And then she was going through them with me. She's like, your name is on all those records. I was like, yeah, no, I got to thank them one day for giving me a thank you and a shout out on those records. But I usually do when I have them on the show. But I got a ton of vinyl for Christmas, and I felt kind of good because usually I buy them myself when the records come out. There were a few this year that I didn't get yet, and she went and got me all of them. So I was really happy about that. Plus a brand new stereo. So you can't beat that. Santa was really good to me this year, so I'm gonna have to make it up to her in 2025. Be a little extra nice, I guess. All right, who do we got on the show next week? Oh, Ken Manded from Damien Thorne will be on next week, and hopefully the guests will start picking up by February. We'll start having two on a week again. It's much nice when you have two guests on each week. It fills up a lot more time than the music does. For some reason, guests have not been getting back to me. The interviews will start picking up coming through the record label, so we'll start having more and more guests on. But all the ones that I've reached out to for like the last 5 or 6 months, I think maybe I've only got two or three responses. Usually they all get back to me and right away. But I don't know. Maybe people just aren't using the messenger services that I'm using with them anymore. I have no idea, but we got to get some more guests on the show each week instead of just one guest. It's better to have two. It fills up more of the airtime than playing a lot of music, even though I don't mind playing all the music. All right, what else is going on here this week? My old hardcore band Stillborn that came out in 1985. It would be 40 years ago that we came out. I can't believe that. It was like I believe at the end of the summer we started out, and it'll be 40 years of Stillborn. And I know we get offered to do a show of like 10 years ago, right after they released the record that came out from my band. They put like a compilation record out, an anthology. We could actually play a couple of hardcore shows, but the other guys in my band didn't want to do it. You know what I mean? I don't think I wanted to do it either because I haven't picked up my bass in many years and played. And I don't think I can remember how to play half those songs, even though I wrote them all. But I keep getting things on Facebook saying you have unwritten messages on the Stillborn page, and I never go to it because most of the time you go there, it's Facebook just trying to sell you something. Like, if you were advertising with us, you can get more views. And we just did the page for fun to upload like all the pictures and stuff that we had of the band. But I go on and there was a message on there from Alexandros Anastasius saying that he put a little clip on there of an article that he wrote about my band that reviewed our music and everything like that. It was really kind and really nice and it made it sound a lot better than I think we were, but it was just so cool. So I wrote back to him saying, I really appreciate that. Thank you. Those are some really nice and kind words. So then he got me after that and he goes, hey, I just want to send you a digital copy of one of my books. I think they're all sold out, so you can have the digital. And it was the guy who wrote Heroes of the Underground last year. So I didn't even put the name together with the book. I have the book, and I didn't put the name together. So I was like so happy that like a real author. I actually wrote something nice about the band, but it was just on a piece of paper that he had it written. So then he tells me that he has a new book coming out called Crossover. Crossover something. I don't remember the name of it. Crossover something, but it's about the crossover metal bands that came out of the New York hardcore scene in the 80s. And he goes, you mind if I interview you and send you some questions? Now, as somebody who does all the interviewing on the show, I always say to myself, we get guests that come on here that you just got to say hello to, and 2 hours later, they're still talking about something. Then we get other guests that you got to really prod and poke to get them to talk and make conversation. So when he sent me this was a written interview, so I could take my time and do it. But even when I was writing the questions down, I was getting a little confused. I'm like, now I know what my guests feel like when I'm throwing questions at them at 100 miles an hour, one after the other. So when you get ones that really talk and come back at you, you know that they're really good at what they do with these interviews. Other ones are probably like, I don't even remember. So I had a hard time, but I answered all the questions. He took it and he's going to be sending out that book to the publisher in another week or two. So when it does come out, I have the whole name down there. All I could see was crossover on there because he had a screenshot of his computer, but I'll let everybody know. And Stillborn will be in there with a little interview. We've written a few books over the years, some hardcore books. So it's always nice when somebody recognizes your old band and what you did. So I'm very happy about that. And I'll keep you in touch with that. He also sent me another book he wrote called We Can Be the New Wind. It was more about the upcoming punk bands and the punk scene from the 70s and 80s. And it was actually a really good read, I'm only about 3/4 of the way through because when I get digital books, it's hard for me to sit there on my phone and read them. I like having the actual physical paperback books, but that's just who I am and the way I am. But let's get back to the music here. So thank you, Alex. He goes, I wanted to get your record, but they were all sold out. I couldn't get them, so I sent them 2 records in the mail yesterday. I went to the post office. It was like $80 to send out 2 records to Greece. I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy shit, back in the 80s, if I had a pen pal in Greece, I would stick a cassette with the case in a regular envelope, put 2 stamps on it. Who knows what stamps were in the early 80s? Maybe they were 10 cents, and that would go overseas. Now it was $80. You had to have a custom form filled out. They charge you $5 for that. Then he's got to pay taxes on the item when it gets there based on how much I said it was worth. So I said it wasn't worth anything because it was a Stillborn record. So hopefully you won't have to pay the taxes on it. But oh my God, $80 to mail out bought two records. I could not believe it. I was stunned with that. So now I know when he gave me the digital copy, it was probably a hell of a lot cheaper than sending out the physical books. But I would buy them anyway. All right, Christian wanted to hear Killer this week, the Belgian Killer. His Secret Love for Him.
Oh, yeah. Come on. Love is a secret, nobody knows it. Love is a dangerous game. I am married, so forget it. You got your boyfriend too. Secret love, it's a sweet memory. Secret love, it's a misery. Secret love, we got no chance. Come on, baby, forget all our mess. Oh yeah. You're out of reach and you're out of touch. Woman, I need you so much. It would be unfair to form a pair. We both got our duties in life. Secret love, it's a sweet memory. Secret love, it's a misery. Secret love, we got no chance. Come on, baby, forget our romance. Secret love, it's a sweet memory. Secret love, it's a misery. Secret love, we got no chance. Come on, baby. Love is a secret. It's a dangerous game. Nobody knows it. It's a dangerous game. Come on, my blonde man, don't try to forget me. Open your eyes and you'll see. Maybe someday I can show you the way when we're alone and free. Secret love, it's a sweet memory. Secret love, it's a misery. Secret love, we got no chance. Come on, baby, forget our romance. We
say Tower of Silence. Before that, Rottweiler, Seductress from Hell. I like that record. Ronnie Monroe joined that band in the 2000s, I want to say. I'm not sure if they recorded anything with them. I'm trying to look it up right now. My collection. Yeah, he made two records with them. I actually think one of them I'm not sure about. Screams of the Innocent. I think was an old record that was recorded in the '80s with the original single passed away, and they re-released it. Then I think the year after that, Ronnie Monroe joined the band. I don't know. I think they broke up again. They're right outside of Washington. I'm not really sure what's going on with them. I haven't followed them or kept in touch with anything that's been happening. But the earlier stuff was pretty good, you know. Before that, Vice, Feel the Fire. And for Christian, you want to kill her with Secret Love. All right, we're down to the last tune, so I want to thank everybody for listening to tonight's show. I want to thank Jeff Prentice from Predator. Next week, Ken Mandit from Damien Thorne. I know we got a couple of guests lined up for February. I'm trying to squeeze in a few more. I'll let everybody know about that in another week or so. But until then, take care, everybody. Have a great night. I'll see you next Sunday. Let's close it out here with a little Sad Iron. How's that sound, everybody? Hellfighter. Take care, everybody. Have a good night.